Hello everybody, very important lesson. I can find the center and radius of a circle, which we did the previous lesson using completing the square, but now using the Conics app. This is a giant shortcut. It'll work the majority of the time. Let's get to it. We talked about how to do this with completing the square in the last lesson. I'd rather you to know how to do that, but this will most likely get you to the correct answer as well if it's multiple choice. So I use the Conics app. So how do I do that? I go to apps. I go to Conics. If you look at the equation, circle. If you look at the equation, there's no parentheses. It's in standard form, which is option 2. Now, pay close attention. It says plus d equals 0. So I need my equation to be equal to 0. Right now, my equation is not equal to 0, so I do have to subtract the 23 from both sides. So it's going to become x squared plus 6x plus y squared minus 4y minus 23 equals 0. That's the biggest issue students have with this. Make sure it's equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, you're going to have to move that constant term over. So now, a, it says, is what's in front of x squared and y squared. A is going to always be 1. There's a 1 in front of the x squared and a 1 in front of the y squared, and that will always be the case. So my a value is going to be 1. B, it says, is what's in front of the x. So what's in front of the x? Positive 6. So B is positive 6. C, it says, is what's in front of the y. What's in front of the y? Negative 4. So negative 4 is C. And then D is the constant. And again, it's the constant when it's equal to 0. My constant D is negative 23. Once I input that, alpha solve. Alpha enter. It tells you the center is negative 3, 2. It tells you the radius is 6. Looks like choice 4. You're done. Twists. No, I guess a little twist here. Let's take a quick look at this one. Is it equal to 0? No. So I need to add 27 to both sides. So I have x squared plus y squared plus 12x plus 27 equals 0. So I go to my Conics app. It says escape there. That's the y equals button. I can keep on hitting that. Or you could always just do second quit. That'll also get you out of wherever you are. So I go to apps, Conics, circle, option 2. A is what's in front of x squared and y squared. Again, that will always be 1. Always. B is what's in front of the x. What's in front of the x is positive 12. C is what's in front of the y. Here's a little twist. There is nothing in front of the y. If there is no y term, then your y term is 0. If there is no y term, your y term is 0. D is my constant. My constant is positive 27. Alpha, enter. Center is negative 6, 0. Radius is 3. That is choice number 3. One more little twist I want to talk about. And this is where, if this was open response, you're going to have a problem. Let's look at partial credit, but you're not going to get full credit. All right, I want center and radius, so I go to my Conics app, second quit to get out of here, second quit, apps, Conics, circle, option 2. A is always 1, B is what's in front of the x, B is negative 16, C is what's in front of the y, C is positive 6, coefficient of y. D is 53. It's equal to 0, so I'm not moving anything. Alpha, enter. I get center is 8, negative 3. And I get the radius is, it says 4.4721. Well, I got my 8, negative 3. In fact, well, that kind of worked out. I think that's actually a typo on this question. So my center is 8, -3. Yeah, this should actually say 8, -3. And my radius, well, is it 20 or is it 2 radical 5? Well, it's definitely not 20. So if you get a decimal there, you kind of need to match it up and see if it's equal to that radical. So is 2 radical 5 this decimal? You're going to have to type it in and see. When I type in 2 radical 5, yes, I do get that. So your answer would be choice 4. So you got to be real careful, because if it's a radical, it's going to give you a decimal. And if it's open response, you're not going to get full credit if you write this. This is not going to be full credit if it's open response. You would have to do the completing the square process in order to come up with that 2 radical 5. But again, the majority of the time you'll be fine. And if it's multiple choice, you could always match that decimal up to the appropriate radical. That's it. Practice it. It makes this question a lot easier, but if you don't know how to do it with completing the square, you're taking a risk. I want you to know how to do it both ways, but if it's multiple choice, and half the time if it's open response, you'll be able to get to the correct answer, but not 100% of the time. But Conics app is great. Make sure you know how to do it. Practice pressing the buttons. Goodbye.